You won't be able to sleep for days after I show you this clip. So prepare yourself for the, lack of sleep that you're about to get from, this one clip. Enjoy!
Dwarfish giganticus.
Everybody, stand back.
It's feeding time.
So Artemis Fowl was directed by Kenneth Branagh and tells the story of a genius 12-year-old boy who, once his father is kidnapped by unforeseen forces, discovers a whole world of fantasy, of magic, fairies, dwarves, trolls, all that kind of stuff as he has to find this device to save his father from the, unforeseen forces. And that's the best I can explain the plot of this, because this movie is awful. I mean, genuinely, really bad. Like, what the hell? So I guess a little bit of background about this movie first. This was originally teased back in the summer of 2018. It was supposed to come out in May of 2019. Then Disney was trying to buy Fox and whatnot, and so that got the film pushed back by an entire year. And then once the virus happened all around the world, they decided, let's just put it on the streaming service. And I feel like there's more to the story than that, because apparently that this has been trying to get made since right after Harry Potter came out. So it's very clearly Disney's attempt to try to make their own Harry Potter. And while this is technically based off a book, it's still very clearly that's what they were trying to do. But they have not changed the script since it was written way back in the early 2000s. And it shows, because it's terrible. It's really hard for me to find any redeeming qualities about this movie besides the production design is nice. The special effects don't make me want to vomit. There's some good practical effects. The only terrifying special effect is the one that you saw in the clip. So, I mean, that's good that it's not Cat's level of terrible effects. But other than that, there's really not that many redeeming qualities at all. So let's try to figure out what the story is, because it's basically father gets kidnapped, genius boy has to save father from world of magic. And so he has to find this all-powerful device that's, all-powerful, as, all-powerful devices are. No explanation as to what it does or how it does what it does. It's just all-powerful. And if someone gets it, then they're all-powerful too. And so we're all screwed. That's the gist of it. One of the worst things that this movie does is how god-awful its world-building is. There's a whole entire underground world of fairies, dwarves, trolls, all that kind of stuff. All the fantasy creatures that once were above ground are now below ground. Never explored, never explained, never shows why or how this happened. Again, like Bright, I have to ask, how do the humans become the dominant races when you have all these magical creatures that could easily kick their ass in maybe 2 days' time? How do the humans become the dominant race in both of these films? I'm so confused. But also, Bright, where that world building was terrible, this world building is terrible. So now Artemis Fowl is the new Bright. I'm so happy we have another Bright film before the actual Bright sequel comes out. It really makes me happy. I think one reason why the world building is so terrible is the movie is only an hour and a half. Which is kind of mind-boggling, because the story it's trying to tell with the world that it's trying to tell it in, easily need to be well over 2 hours. The first Harry Potter movie is almost 2.5 hours long. So it's you can do children's fantasy films that have really long run times. So, I don't get why they didn't do that here. And it clearly shows that it's a detriment to the film with how short it is. Because, nothing is ever explained about the fairies, which look like elves, which is still mind-boggling to me that the fairies look like elves. You look at both of these, they look the same. I'm not trying to be elf racist here, but the makeup design on the fairies, they're indistinguishable from elves. Guys, come on. There's a villain here, and I say villain in quotes because they're not a main focus in the slightest. They capture his father, but whoever they are, never explored who they are, never explained why they want the thing, just besides, all-powerful, and once I get it, I'll be all-powerful too. Yay! That's essentially it. There's no exploration as to, the specifics as to why they want the all-powerful device for the all-powerful reasons they want it. Nothing like that. They're just dark, mysterious face, ooh, I'm mysterious, ooh. That's essentially what it is. And it's really piss poor. acting in the film is okay, but like the main kid that plays Artemis Fowl, like he gets the job done at the barest of minimums. Like we've gotten so many good child performances in several films these past couple of years, like Brooklyn Prince and the Florida Project, Daphne Keane and Logan. Like we've gotten really great child performances. So why is this kid so lifeless and soulless? Apparently they auditioned like over 10,000 kids, and this kid was the one that won? Like, I'm confused. Like, he can read the lines fine, and it seems like he's acting, but, like, the dialogue and the way that he's, like, directed to present it is supposed to seem like some kind of, like, Tony Stark-esque kind of cocky character. But he never does it like that. It's just kind of lifeless and soulless. Like, I don't get how this happened. Ugh. Look, Kenneth Branagh, you're a great director. You've directed good things, but this was clearly not the movie for you. Like, even though Thor is technically a superhero sci-fi epic, like, there's still that kind of Shakespearean side of story that he knows how to do really well. Because if you don't know, Kenneth Branagh is one of the best Shakespearean actors out there, and he directed like a 4-hour version of Hamlet, a really huge Henry V. Like, he's done Shakespeare all of his life, and he's directed some really good films, especially when they have those Shakespearean elements. So Thor really works because it has that kind of, like, you know, brother feud kind of thing and family drama that he can do really well. There's nothing like that here. Like, it's like it's like giving Michael Bay the reins to a Harry Potter movie. Like, Michael Bay makes Michael Bay movies, so giving him something like Harry Potter would obviously not work in the slightest. And here, Kenneth really does well with, like, you know, more dramatic type films. Like, he made Murder on the Orient Express, which I thought was good. He did a good job there. But here, this is just something that was way out of his comfort zone. It was clearly something that he, like, you know, wanted to try to do, but it really didn't work. And the script also did not help in the slightest. It is generic, basic, and boring. Like, I kid you not, like, halfway through, I got so bored of it that I wanted to take a nap. Like, that very rarely ever happens. So, like, yeah, Judi Dench sounds like that she smoked menthols her entire life, so she has both throat and lung cancer, and her voice is terrible. I don't know why she was directed to talk like that, but she was. Josh Gad also has the same problem, and I don't really understand why. Like, the characters are the most paper-thin, basic characters that this film required. Like, you know, Artemis is, like, you know, a rich kid. He's also very smart. That's all we know about him. He never grows. He never changes. His dad, nothing there. The butler, nothing there. His niece that's in the film that you can completely cut out because she adds nothing. There's nothing to her. The fairy soldier that joins them, nothing to her. Judi Dench, nothing to her. There's nothing to anyone. No character development or anything happens to them. So by the end, it's like, what were we doing here? Why do we waste our time with this? Because nothing happens. Nothing happens in the plot. Nothing happens for the characters. It's just boring and basic and so clearly wants to be a Harry Potter ripoff, but it doesn't understand how Harry Potter worked. Like, Harry Potter took its time to explore the world and let the characters grow inside of that world that they're thrown into. But here, Artemis isn't even thrown into the world. He's stuck in his house for the whole film. Yes, like, 85% of this movie takes place in his beachside house in Ireland. In this giant fantasy, quote-unquote, epic, like, with a whole underground city full of, like, you know, fairies, trolls, and whatnot, he's in his beachside house! Why? I don't understand! Who was the genius that thought that was a smart idea for this fantasy film? It's like if you just kept Harry Potter in Privet Drive the whole movie! No one would like it! It would be bad, and this is why, because they did that, and it's bad. I went in hoping that it would be good. I saw the reviews were negative. I was like, I'll take that with a grain of salt, but there has to be something redeemable, because, like, one of the screenwriters were Paddington, which Paddington is really good, and, like, you know, Kenneth Branagh was directing. I was like, he's a good director, and, like, you know, like, an unknown child starring in it, it's like, that's usually a good sign. Nope. Really bad. Like I said in the beginning, there's really no redeeming qualities I can think of to this movie. World building is piss poor, character development is non-existent, characters are paper thin and awful. There's two action scenes in this entire movie. Only two. One of them looks like it was filmed to be a one-shot action scene, but it must not have worked when they shot it. So in editing, they tried to, like, you know, cut away to different parts to, like, make it seem like it wasn't. but it's so poorly edited that it's so clearly a one-shot that they tried to fix in post that just didn't work. It's bad. And what sucks is that it could have been cool in a one-shot. Like, the weapons that they use are, like, at least designed in a cool way, so, like, that would have been fun to see. No! Piss poor editing made me give less than 2 shits. And there's this troll that attacks the house, and again, the climax happens at the beachside house in Ireland, and it's just like, why should I care? And then, like, a character, like, like, I'm not going to say what happens, but it's like, I felt no emotion because they didn't grow, and I didn't give a shit about any of them to begin with. So it's like, if something happens to them, why should I care? The film gives me no reason to care, so... Artemis Fowl is easily the worst movie of 2020, and yes, this includes Robert Downey Jr.'s Dolittle, because even though Dolittle is definitely a bad movie, there were still elements there that, like, made me have a fun time with it. Some funny jokes, some really out there performances, to say the least. While it's definitely a bad movie, I have more fun with this. I got so bored with this. I gave no shits about anything that happened. And by the end, with a sequel bait tease ending, because you gotta have that these days, like, I don't want a sequel. I never want to see this movie again. It's a bad movie. You should avoid it at all costs. Just don't watch it. It's bad. Kenneth, my man, look, I know you don't watch these videos, but I'm saying this to you anyway. Why'd you make this? And why did it turn out bad? Please, send me something to say why, please. My brain's broken. I'm going to give Artemis Fowl a 2 out of 10. This is really bad, guys. Like, I was not expecting it to be this bad, but it's bad. It's bad. It's boring. Writing is awful. It's just bad. Don't waste your time with it. Okay, I'm going to go watch something good. I'll see y'all next time. All right, peace.